Hey everyone, welcome back. If you saw my video from last week, it was all about why I use lettings agencies because there's so many things that could go wrong. And one, it's very time consuming, and two, I don't live near my property, so it's something that I definitely have to do and definitely want to implement going forward. And I know there's some things where there's going to be discrepancies and things like that, especially if you do live near your properties, or you want to save some money because the margins are quite short, or it's something that you enjoy. It really depends how you set your business up, but if you are kind of going into that management route or lettings agency route, then I just want to talk about some of the risks that you will have if you are managing it whilst running a property investment business. So it's definitely worth looking at if you definitely want to manage your own properties going forward. But if you're like me and you're kind of being this passive hands-off and only focusing on certain things in the business and working full-time, then here are some of the risks that you might be facing when you are managing your property. So first up is there are definitely regular checks that you have to do, making sure the fire alarm works, making sure there's a fire extinguisher, making sure the doorways and the exit routes and things like that are on track, making sure the lights work, etc. So there's definitely inspections that have to happen, and they need to comply with each council and what the rules are for there. So you need to make sure that you're doing that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, depending on what the council require. The second part is there's been so many changes with tenancy deposit schemes and when you can and can't take deposits and how it needs to be secured and things like that. So make sure you are having the right tenancy agreement and securing that deposit in a safe way, because it doesn't go to the landlord anymore, it definitely goes back to them. So just make sure that you are checking that out. The third point is if something goes wrong or you need a contractor or anything like that, make sure you have your own contractors, or the lettings agencies usually have contractors that they work with in case anything does go wrong. It's property, anything can go wrong. I had a leak in my house and the tenants were out all night shift and the whole house flooded, and that could have easily been prevented if someone was at home or anything like that. It definitely did have 5 hours to drive up there, so making sure that you have good contractors would definitely help you. And especially if you're going to get a ring at 2 a.m. saying something's happened or their lock's out or anything like that, just make sure that you have the right teams in place, or that you have a system that's in place to go and sort that mess out. The fourth point is compliance. There's so many regulations and compliance that you need to do that is a legal requirement for you to do when you are managing information and moving them in and securing deposits and things like that, as well as checking through, do they have the right to live here in the UK, do they have employment and things like that. Don't actually know what goes into those forms. You're going to make sure that they're compliant, following the regulations, and that they are legally okay to do so. And the fourth point that I wanted to mention, kind of going back into the legal thing, is the contract that you sign with the tenants. That has to follow a legal requirement. Yes, there are different ways that you can supply contracts and things like that, but that contract is a legal requirement when someone moves in. So you've got to make sure that's absolutely correct, and everything that they're saying is correct, and everything that you are doing is correct. There's also something in place to say what you're responsible for and what the tenant is responsible for. Lettings agencies have their own standard procedure when they do so, but if you are managing your own properties, you've got to make sure that you are focusing on the heads of terms of making sure what you're responsible for and what the tenants are responsible for. So I hope you guys enjoy that video. I know it's a little bit dull talking about lettings agencies and the risks and things like that, but it's super important that you do know everything that you're doing and what the risks are involved with. Property is a big risk, especially if you don't know what you're doing in that particular field. It can be a massive risk. So just be careful and make sure that you are following all of the compliance regulations and things like that. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys next Tuesday.